Al Jazeera Podcasts.
Today, would you scan your eyeballs for cryptocurrency? Well, that's exactly what the founder of OpenAI, Sam Altman, wants you to do for a new cryptocurrency he launched called Worldcoin.
People around the world are lining up to have their eyeballs scanned with the promise of free money.
But is it really just exploiting people in the global south? I'm Kevin Hirten, and this is The Take.
I am Russell Brandom. I'm the U.S. tech editor at Rest of World, which is a nonprofit newsroom focused on tech outside the U.S. and Europe. And I am speaking to you from our office in downtown Manhattan.
So, Russell, Worldcoin.
Yes.
It's a cryptocurrency linked to a biometric identity system called World ID.
A quick screen of your iris. That's all it could take to create a digital ID that doesn't reveal your name or other personal data.
It involves people putting their eyeballs up to these futuristic, shiny silver orbs. So we've got orbs, we've got crypto. What could go wrong, right?
Yeah.
So what is going on here? Maybe you start with the orbs and try to explain it to people who might not know anything about it and aren't big tech experts.
I'm going to build up to the orbs. That's maybe the weirdest part of this whole thing. So it's a cryptocurrency, right? That's the word you started with. Like Bitcoin, people have heard of Bitcoin maybe. Basically a digital way of sending money from person to person without banks or other intermediaries, right? And they do this through this complicated technology that we don't need to go into now. WorldCoin is just like that. But the way that it's different is they want to have a sort of firm root of knowing who everyone is. And this is because they know there are all of these fake accounts, there are bots, and also it's your wallet. You don't want to lose your wallet. You may have to, okay, how do I reset my account? Well, how are we sure it's you? How are we sure this isn't some hacker trying to steal all your money? Mm-hmm. So the way that they do that is this biometric authentication. So when you start your Worldcoin account, when you get your wallet, they scan your iris, which is sort of unique in the way that a fingerprint is. And this is the iris in your eye. And they do this with the orb. And then going forward after that, if you say, I lost my password, they can verify that it's yours because they'll say, oh, okay, the iris print matches.
Right. Okay. So is it an orb with a cryptocurrency attached or a cryptocurrency with an orb attached?
Well, they're attached to each other. Yeah. The key thing is, ideally, you only have to use the orb at the beginning. It's a new thing, so they're hoping someday you'll be able to pay your cable bill in Worldcoin. But right now, it's mostly just, we'll sign up for this. You kind of put your eye in the orb, and then they give you some free Worldcoin as a sign-up bonus. You get a little bonus Worldcoin to start with because they want to encourage people to sign up. So in practice, what we've seen is people say, look, I'll do this orb thing if you give me $50, but then they immediately want to turn it into cash, which you can do, but it's a little tricky. And then they never think about it again and just sort of leave their wallet in the air.
Wow. Okay.
Like they're sending the orbs to a lot of places like, Kenya, India, Southeast Asia, where there are a lot of people who are like, look, I'll go through this process if you're going to give me $50. You can draw a pretty big crowd that way.
Yeah, sure. It's a little bit like step right up, meet the orbs and get $10.
Absolutely. There is one orb here in Lower Manhattan. I have not myself submitted to the orb.
Submitted to the orb. Russell, hold on. If we cut a bit of this conversation, we could be in a 70s sci-fi movie right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so people have lined up to get these scans in places like Kenya, India, Indonesia, Hong Kong. Now, your reporters at Rest of World have talked to people in a lot of these places. What do you know about what this experience is like for them and what happens to their data after the scan?
So I think their experience is, the orbs work. So they go up, the people say, okay, this is what's going to happen. They explain the concept of Worldcoin. Then they do the orb. And then the people we talk to tend to mostly be interested in, well, I want to use this money to like buy lunch. Like, how am I going to do that? Mm-hmm. And it's a little involved, exchanging Worldcoin for dollars, but you can do it. It spends like real money. I think, there's a concern about getting scammed as you're trying to do that because it's not like you can't walk into a bank, so it's hard to know what's reputable and what's not. But in terms of what happens to the data, Worldcoin will say, and I think this is generally understood to be true, but it's always like, you wonder if this is a really robust system. But they'll say, we don't store the iris print itself. What we store lets you verify it's the same person, but it's a one-way function. You can't work back to the iris print. It's not really a privacy risk to the person.
So we just talked about all these places where people were signing up for Worldcoin. But the more attention it gets, the more privacy concerns it raises, right? There have also been reports that people have been signed up without full knowledge or consent, and that includes minors.
The company behind it says it's working together with regulators as reviews are conducted.
Questions around ethics and privacy linger, and critics say Worldcoin has yet to answer them satisfactorily.
So a number of governments have actually suspended or investigated Worldcoin over these privacy concerns. What are these concerns?
Yeah, the point about consent is an important one. I think if you talk to Worldcoin, they'll say, look, no one has to put their face in the orb. People who are doing it know that they're doing it. We're not like getting people's pictures on the street. If you're standing in line for something, there's a sense in which you're consenting to it. I think they are making an effort to explain to people what they sign up for. But if people hear, I'm going to get $50 at the end of this line, how much are they listening to any of the rest of it? How much is this maybe happening without them knowing that there's this bigger privacy, potential concern? That's legitimate.
Russell,
yeah,
we're doing a podcast about this, and I barely understand what it is.
Right, yeah.
Right? So how do you consent to something like this?
Yeah, I think that's a hard problem to solve. We wanted to ask people, why are you signing up for this? And across the board, almost the only answer we ever got from anyone was, it's free money.
Yeah.
I'm going to have $50 at the end of this, and I don't really care about any of the rest of it. And I do think that tells you something about the future of the project, is that by far, the use case that we saw is people signed up for the wallet, got the free money, and then tried to get it in a currency they could actually spend, and probably didn't think about the wallet after that.
Where the future of Worldcoin could go after the break. So we've got two things here: Worldcoin, the cryptocurrency, and the world ID that's attached to it. For a skeptical take on both, we also spoke to David Gerard, cryptocurrency journalist and the author of the book Attack of the 50-Foot Blockchain. He's got questions for Worldcoin's founder, Sam Altman.
I mostly wonder why he's gathering all these eyeball scans and what he's going to do with them and what this is a model for. I don't think there's anything of substance to Worldcoin, the cryptocurrency. I think it's just another crypto. A lot of people have tried these private currency schemes which say they'll give money to the poor. Zero of them have ever worked out. This is the best funded one I've seen. I want to be clear, there's no sign they've done anything untoward with it yet. But it's like a great big barrel of toxic waste that people worry about.
But Russell says the worries about biometrics are not just a Worldcoin problem.
I don't think there's anywhere in the world that really has robust rules about biometric data. Just because our ability to collect it has sort of expanded and sort of outpaced the law. I mean, this is the oldest story in tech and privacy, right? I think with biometrics, passwords are a good example. A biometric, ideally, it's like I'm using my fingerprint or my iris scan instead of a password. Well, and we all see, you get these emails, passwords leak. And then they say, well, okay, LinkedIn had this breach and everyone had to change their password. If it's your iris or your fingerprint, once it leaks, that's it. You can't get a new fingerprint. You can't get a new iris scan.
Some governments, though, are trying to catch up with the technology, including Kenya, which suspended Worldcoin operations.
Kenya's communications authority now questioning where the data is being stored and what Worldcoin is doing with that information. Authorities are now scrambling to suspend operations, saying there are too many unknowns.
A lot of countries do not like cryptocurrency and find it inherently kind of sketchy and don't want these people operating in their country. And I think we're in the sort of Silicon Valley mentality of moving fast and breaking things. And so, I think there are a lot of touch points. The orb is creepy. It's biometrics. You're handing out money. There are a lot of reasons to be suspicious. And I think cryptocurrency at a basic level is sort of trying to replace various functions that the government is doing, right? So this is trying to be a national ID program. Well, you might look at that and say, if we want a national ID program, we'll start one. we don't need Sam Altman coming in and doing this for us.
Right, exactly.
So I think there is a natural kind of conflict there. And it has led, Kenya, among other countries, to sort of just say, look, don't come here anymore.
So, Russell, the people at Worldcoin do talk in lofty language about this product. They say it's going to be globally inclusive. The project's founder, Sam Altman, he says, quote, "In a world with a lot of AI, knowing who is human matters more and more." How skeptical should we be of this kind of philanthropic framing that they're using?
Yeah, I think generally it is good to be skeptical of philanthropic framings coming out of Silicon Valley. I would say they're trying to get as many people signed up for the product as they can, right? And that's not necessarily a nefarious thing. There's also not much functionality right now. There are not a lot of places you can spend your Worldcoin. Once all of that is built up, is it still going to be about connecting the underbanked, or are they going to look at this and say, how do we make money on this?
Yeah.
That seems very, very likely to me. That is not how they are talking right now, but also we've seen over and over again from startups that they're sort of in the moment of, well, we just want to make a service that a lot of people use. And then at a certain point, the switch flips and they say, all right, now we have this big thing. We're going to try to make lots of money on it because we live in a capitalist society, right? It's not, I think that turn, we don't know exactly when it will happen. We don't know exactly what it will look like, but I do think it's a very good bet that something like that will happen if the project is successful.
So, Russell, we've talked about privacy issues on an individual level, but on a broader level, Worldcoin says it would never sell user data, but theoretically, if they were to sell it to governments around the world, for instance, how concerned should we be that the system can be used in problematic ways?
The big thing on that front is cryptocurrency right now, there are sort of anonymous properties to it. And this is not a fact that everyone loves, right? There's money laundering and things of that nature. I think Worldcoin is cryptocurrency without anonymity, right? And so it does mean that if you are trying to send money to some group that the government doesn't like, Worldcoin is not going to be a good way to do that. So, that's the thing. It's an identity service. It can be used for good or evil.
Okay, so Russell, we're going to ask you to put on your prediction hat.
Okay.
So if you were to predict where Worldcoin will be 1 year from now, do you think it will have become this new thing that everyone's talking about, or is it going to just be another crypto coin?
I think it is going to just be another crypto coin. And I would say it is because we're pretty far into the project, right? We're 200 some days, and it's still not that useful. So if I have $50 in Worldcoin, which is very plausible, I could go down, sign up right now, get my $50. what could I do with it as Worldcoin other than just turn it into dollars? And so far, there really is not that much you can do with it. And I think that is really the challenge. And even Bitcoin, what we're seeing is people want it as a way to speculate on the price going up or going down. They're not really using it to do anything. It's just sort of another kind of gold brick. And I think that's going to be the real challenge for Worldcoin going forward.
And that's The Take. This episode was produced by Ashish Malhotra and Sarí el-Khalili, with Chloe K. Lee, Faranisa Campana, Miranda Lynn, Amy Walters, Negin Oliayi, Sonia Bagat, David Enders, Khalid Sultan, Zainab Badr, and me, Kevin Hirten, in for Malika Bilal. Alex Roldan is our sound designer. Alexandra Locke is The Take's executive producer, and Ney Alvarez is Al Jazeera's head of audio. We'll be back.